In this episode, we talk about the current meta, what we like, what we don't like, and just some things we've noticed along the way. Now that we've got a chance to sit down and really play through this meta for a while. So let's dive under the surface. So we just want to have a little meta discussion because we're starting to see how things shake out a little bit. And they changed everything to charge pretty much now. So there's no when you do this, this happens. It's when you do this, charge 1 second. And then as things get upgraded, they charge more. And a lot of items, it's kind of weird, but like a lot of items, when they're diamond tier, they infinite like loop themselves, so you start getting these infinite combos basically are the entire meta. Like if you don't have an infinite combo, you're probably not getting to 10 wins. In rare cases, you are. We'll discuss those. But
Yeah, but it has to be noted that not all of the items are going to scale their charge time. So if you are not yet familiar with how certain items are upgraded, maybe you should look at how Bazaar GG before you commit to an upgrade, because you might actually sort of waste an upgrade unless it's simply buying an item. But I'm thinking about Forger or like upgrade your leftmost item, those sort of stuff, because there are items like, for example, duct tape, which does not upgrade its charge time. Even at diamond, it will only charge 1 second whenever adjacent item is used. But let's say bushel, when you shield, a diamond bushel will charge for 4 seconds, and as it has base cooldown of 4 seconds, it will go infinite. Well, if you can shield as fast. So, I mean, not all items need to charge themselves more and more with higher tiers. I accept that. But you should not assume from the get-go that all of the items do that. So, some items, made better than others, simply put.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that sort of mechanic maybe makes the infinites too easy, because they used to feel more fun than they do now. They feel like, oh my god, I'm not getting an infinite, I'm gonna lose. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, the meta has definitely, like, I complained about haste, but right now haste is, I don't know, it plays second fiddle to charge, in my opinion. Like, yeah, haste is useful, but if you can skip hasting and simply go towards charging your items, like, you do not really need haste if all your items charge themselves, because charging is stronger than hasting, and half of the items, it feels like, charging themselves based on some condition. And if they are not charging themselves based on some condition, they have some strong effect that will alter the outcome of the game when that item goes off. But some of the items were actually nerfed. Like, for example, Crow's Nest. It doesn't give 25% crit chance per tier, it only gives 20. So now you need some other source of critical chance for your item to reach that fabled 100.
Yeah, I think that change specifically is probably better because it's a little less like insta pick. I know he said he was nerfing that till Northern Lion doesn't insta pick that every time he sees it, but I've definitely been picking it less too.
Yeah, like, it was too easy to build around Crow's Nest. I mean, if you had it like at gold tier at least, then you were probably safe in the sense that it didn't really matter what weapon you had paired with it. It was going to, I mean, if you had, of course, the supporting items for that, but in essence, like, Crow's Nest was very flexible item, while now it's not like it's useless, but it doesn't bring the same power to the table. It's a bit slower, let's call it.
Yeah, I think it's in a good place. It feels weird a little bit because the meta is so, like, other items are kind of better anyway because it doesn't do any sort of combo, and sort of it's this combo heavy meta. Like, I find myself having, like, on Pygmalion specifically, like, you have a couple items that are feeding off of each other and making some infinite combo, and then the rest of your board kind of feels like it's just there. I don't know.
I mean, yeah, charging is definitely the main focus in this patch, at least for me, and from what I have heard from other players. I hope you will link the video from Tajsama, because he has a giant discussion on the current meta, right? So if someone wants to like hear some top players discuss what is happening right now in the world of the bazaar, I think that's a good supplement, let's call it. But in essence, like if you see an item that has charge effect, I think it's not really auto include, but it can become an item that you will build around. And the more items that can charge themselves off of each other, the easier it will be to find those infinites. So infinites in the previous patch were mostly reliant on hasting, and if you could go with infinite haste, then well, you were like at least twice as fast as your opponent. But right now you mostly need key items to be at a high enough level for them to charge themselves. But I don't know, like I'm not sure where I was going with it, but some skills can facilitate that sort of rush meta, in the sense that like shield bash is, I think, the strongest skill in the game right now. It says that whenever your opponent uses a non-weapon item, charge one of your weapons by 1 second. So that seems strong, like especially since we have this charging meta where people spam triggers every second. So having like this ability to accelerate your items based off what your opponent is doing makes sense. And if your opponent is like fully defensive build, then if you have some scaling attached to your items or your skills, well then I don't know, it's sort of like caltrops, like in the effect. I'm not sure if you would agree with me.
Yeah, it basically turns into that, which is kind of a weird thought. It kind of shows you the problem with them, I think.
Well, problem and not. I mean, the game has become much faster than in the previous patch. So I guess some people might dislike that, and I suppose that after like day 5 or 6, some runs can result in like Christmas lights going on your screen and you cannot follow what is happening during a fight, because you can only admire fireworks. And I guess admiring fireworks is cool once a year on New Year's Eve, but like if you are going to play the game and like every, let's say, 10 minutes you are watching a firework display, it can get sort of repetitive.
Yeah, it hasn't gotten old for me yet, but I know it's going to, because I've already had multiple, like I haven't played that many runs this patch, and I've already had multiple where I've like the later game run battles start to just be like, we infinitely haste until the sandstorm ends, or infinitely shield or whatever until the sandstorm ends. And it's like, okay, like this is like a once in a lifetime thing before, and now it's like every few runs you start getting crap like this.
Yeah, though, so in essence, to summarize that part, like having a lot of charging triggers can make you extremely strong, but when we pair that with how skills were modified, so there's effects that skills bring to the table much stronger than they were before. So when we combine those two effects, the high roll possibility has, well, went through the roof. So sometimes you are obviously going to like struggling through your run and you might end up with like 4 or 5 wins. And that has happened to me a couple of times this patch. But at the same time, if you hit that one item or that one skill that synergizes with what you already have, then at that point your ingenuity in terms of crafting your build is not that important, as you simply have an infinite, right? So on one hand, that's fun because a lot of items have become more useful because of their ability to get charged. But on the other hand, like everything can become extremely OP. So there's less of a mid game right now. We have an early game where we sort of, struggle against each other. We push each other a bit, and I don't know, we run around the playground. And then like puberty hits and everybody's a giga chad. I don't know.
Yeah. And then if you're a late bloomer, sorry buddy, unfortunate journey.
Yeah.
I noticed like a lot of my runs either become like 5 wins or something and are kind of disappointing, or it's like I know what the infinite combos are, so I'm like, I get something, and then it's like, okay, I have to go for this infinite combo now. Like, if I want to have any chance in the later days, and then you either get it, and it's like, potentially 10 wins, or you don't get it, and you're just done.
To be fair, I noticed that when I play, I am so stuck in my ways based on the previous patch that I tend to ignore items that were previously weak but now are completely different. So maybe there are ways to play that we have not yet seen, and whenever I just like stop for a second and actually analyze what is happening in the game, I start to notice new patterns and new play styles that are available to me. So there are some obvious infinites in the game. So probably that those infinites that were first encountered by a player get, so I don't know, like they become core memories. And whenever you see that item next time, you are sort of remembering that, oh yeah, that item gave me an infinite combo. It's strong. I should use it. But maybe at the same time you were offered another item that would also result in an infinite combo, but you didn't realize that this other item that you either already have or you sold like 2 hours ago was going to provide you with that result. So whenever a new patch hits, you need to have an open mind. And I feel like we became creatures of habit and we do not learn from our mistakes as much. Our only objective is to win. And when one thing allowed us to win, at least in my case, when I realized that one thing provided me with a win, I sort of drift towards that route whenever I play another run, which is definitely incorrect.
Yeah, I've done the same thing. Like, I had a really strong marble, like, proboscis run, I think it was. And then it's like every run, I'm like, okay, I see marbles, time to pick it up and look for something. I mean, that's the common one on pig and bushel. Bushel's super strong. I wanted to mention a little tip for our viewers about bushel, because bushel is one of the best items in the game, probably, or it's definitely high up there. And when you go, I can't remember the name of the encounter exactly, strange mushroom or
Yeah.
something like that. There's a secret event there. You may already know about that. Lets you upgrade the bushel. So, and you see that event all the time. So if you go there, you can easily get, like, I've had, like, I think a gold bushel on day 1. So it's pretty, or day 2 maybe. So it's pretty insane. But I think that same event also has a free skill.
Yeah.
Which, was kind of, honestly, it's a random skill. And before, it was honestly not worth doing, from my opinion, at least. But now there's like times where it's definitely worth it to get the skill, because skills are so much rarer, I guess. So you can, when you could only have one skill by leveling up on day 1, you could get a skill without leveling up by just going to this event and picking one. Now, it might not necessarily work with your build, but
yeah, but
there's less skills, I think.
A lot of skills now function as enablers instead of just augments, in the sense that instead of improving your build, improving your strategy, they allow you to switch to a different strategy, in the sense that an effect might, for example, charge one of your items. So let's think about like righty-tighty. Your rightmost item slows for 1 second every time it goes off. So every item that says whenever you slow, like Boskis, for example, is going to benefit from that. So
yeah,
you need to have you need to keep that in mind. But because skills were mainly shifted towards level up rewards, XP has become extremely valuable, even more than it was before. So like 90% of the games right now, well, I shouldn't spew some strange statistics that I just invented, but like a lot of the games on day 1, people are already level 2, and I think that has become the standard. Like, people have realized that you do not really need that strong of a build for your first encounter for your first PvE fight. You can win most of them with an empty board. So if you are offered an XP reward, well, people are taking that, because if you are offered another one, and there's a good chance you will, as most of the skill vendors were removed from the game, so the pool has been shrunk a bit. So you are more likely to get 2 XP events during your first day. With that, you get more health, more board space. So with that in mind, you are able to go to one shop only during your first day. So at that point, you need to fill out your board. But having that 100 HP advantage over your opponent can work wonders during your first day. So if you want to have the best chances at winning your first day, probably you need to look for those XP rewards.
And trust me, you want to have the best chance at winning your first day with the cancer builds that come like after day 7 now. You want that first day win. The other thing I wanted to mention was the beautiful Boulder now actually exists in the game properly, and he's handsome, and he has only a 20-second cooldown on gold and a 16-second cooldown on a diamond, and it's viable now, and it's actually kind of broken because the charge bash is what it's called, shield bash skill, things like that charge it a ridiculous amount. I mean, there's boulders popping off at like 3 seconds.
Oh yeah,
which is, I mean, how are you going to tank your full max HP 3 seconds into the fight? You're probably not. But
yeah.
I know I'm sure that's going to get nerfed in the next patch because it is too strong. Maybe not. Maybe they nerf stuff surrounding it and not the boulder itself.
Right, but
oh my god.
Main part about the boulder being so strong is since infinite combos are so prevalent right now, and a lot of them are simply defensive combos, defensive loops. So you either heal for 1,000,000 or shield for 1,000,000, though you need a couple of seconds at least at the start of the fight to start rolling. So, the main counter for that is to use those first couple of seconds during a fight to best down your opponent down to 0. So if you can accelerate your boulder to go off in the first, let's say, 5 seconds of the fight, you have definitely a higher chance to win against a infinite shielding Pygmalion than if you were to scale up your little weapons or whatever, right? I mean, it's still possible if your scaling is faster than your opponent's, but that's the main weakness of the infinite combos. The first couple of seconds of the fight, they need to have time to start getting to those higher values. So one of the people invited by tajsama to this discussion that I mentioned before mentioned that right now meta feels like rock, paper, scissors. So on one hand, you may have, I mean, not really on one hand, but like first you may have like this infinite shield Pygmalion, then he's going to get countered by like burst Vanessa, and this burst Vanessa might get countered by like Chrono Barrier duly, right? So like every time you face somebody, there is a build that deletes them in essence, but there are I don't feel like, at least, that there are no more, like, I'm not sure even how to put it, like omnipotent builds that can win against everything.
Yeah, there's no lizard dually type build where everybody's just spamming it.
Though lizard dually is still pretty strong.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I got kind of triggered when I saw it again. And pufferfish too is actually pretty decent.
Yeah,
I don't think it's as good. Maybe it is. I don't know.
I mean,
I don't see it as much.
Pufferfish charges whenever you haste. So, like, if you have diamond pufferfish, it's going to charge 4 seconds with its base cooldown of 8 seconds. So, if you like put, let's say, jellyfish to the right of the puffer, which I think that's the best friend duo that there is. Like, those two sea creatures really like each other. But imagine this: you have those two guys. And then to the left of pufferfish, you put cloak. And now you have infinite pufferfish with only 4 slots on the board.
So even the harder loops. I mean, some of the harder loops are not hard.
Yeah.
They really didn't want the pufferfish meta to come back, though, did they? Giving him a half a charge, fully charged at diamond versus like full charge. A lot of them get. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't seen the other discussion about the meta from the top players, but rock, paper, scissors really is what it feels like. And I don't know. Did they like it, Jen? Do they like this meta or hate it, or is it mixed opinions?
I mean, I haven't watched the whole discussion from those top players, but from what I have gathered, they feel like this meta is not as easy, or like not as sort of like, you do not need to like switch off your brain and just go through the motions, and you'll win every time by choosing correct pieces that you know are good. Like this time you really need to put in some work if you want to, go the distance.
Yeah, you can kind of tell that from the subreddits, all the complaining about like everybody suddenly can't get, like over 4 wins or 7 wins or something.
I mean, as we have established, it doesn't matter what the patch is going to say. Some people are always going to complain. Like we talked about this mixed martial arts before the recording. Like this guy like thrives on being insufferable, I think. But I don't know, like there are some good parts about this patch, and I genuinely think that this patch is fun despite its flaws, because those flaws aren't that impactful on the game, in the sense that, yeah, high rolls are rampant and builds are going infinite, which results in firework displays on your screen. But at the same time, doing those, like collecting those items and then assembling them into a finely working machine, is so much fun.
Yeah, I agree. Some of the most fun I've had the entire game, like the entire time I played the game, has been this patch. So
Yeah, because I mentioned this mixed martial arts guy, so I don't know if you know it. How do you view know him? How do you view as? But like, I just wanted to say sort of to him that this game isn't really a card game. This is a drafting game, and also a like this. I don't know, like you are assembling an engine. That's the main part of the game. You have certain pieces that interact with each other, and then you try to, build a little Lego structure from those. And well, yeah, if you have like one little block that's the base of your whole tower, then it's going to topple. And yeah, so get good.
He's calling you out. So I guess my final thing to say here is that if you're a Giga Chad like me, you're gonna play Vanessa. You're never gonna pick up Barrel. You're never gonna pick up a Turtle Shell, and you're gonna force Boulder every single game.
Yes.
So
Yes. If you want to have a giant chin and a lot of hair on your chest, you should ignore those OP items. Even if you are a woman, you still want to do those things. A lot of hair on your chest won't hurt nobody.
All right, well, let us know in the comments what builds you've been playing, I guess.
And tell us all about fun infinite combos that you have discovered, because we want to know about them.
Yes, please do. And like and subscribe as well. And we'll see you on Nunhead's channel on Monday.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's it. Bye.
See ya.